Tractate Bava Batra, page 153, 3 lines from the top of the page. The subject of Gemarrah, someone who's close to his imminent death, and his wishes, how far you go with those expressions, is a core subject. We explained in the past that it goes in a very sensitive, fine line between making a matter of acquisition, giving a power of attorney to someone on his behalf, fulfillment in immediate matter or after passing, which makes a huge difference, and more. So here we're going to deal with several critical stories that we can derive from that a lot of foundation in Jewish law. In very general term, someone who is in a deathbed and makes the decision to give a gift to someone, he needs to have a acquisition, meaning the best case scenario, the required case scenario. It has to have a witnesses, it has to have matter of acquisition, it has to have immediate action on that. If it's a expression of wishes, or the stipulation in the letter is upon the death, or it's written in a sense of no witnesses or no clear matter of acquisition, it's meaningless. So here is the story, 3 lines from top of page 153. Excuse me. Hahu dekanu mine. Here you have a person in his deathbed, and he have a deed of transfer that basically taking his entire estate to someone else, and he said, I want to transfer it to someone. Let's call name. Let's say the fellow who's in a deathbed name is Reuven. He said, I would like to transfer the estate to Shimon, and they basically have the matter of acquisition for the purpose of the other party, Shimon, but then all of a sudden he gets back his health and he is doing well, and he wants to basically retract that decision of giving away his estate. So he went before the great rabbi named Rav Huna, and he asked him if is that permissible to do so. Amar lo, mai evad lach, delo kanit ktemaknu ishne, inche. You did not follow the structure of Jewish law, meaning the way that you structure it, it has to spell out that if things happen and this apparently imminent death will not take place, and you get better, then it's null and void. But out of that, if a person in a deathbed and is just enough to give the gift as is, or only a matter of acquisition, or even both, the one who's in a deathbed cannot change it. So you basically wrote it, you transfer it, you make the maaseh kinyan, the matter of acquisition. So even Shmuel said that nothing can help in this case. The Rashbam and Rab Simcha Me'adsoy gives a list of 5 conclusions, because we basically go by the rule of Shmuel when it's come to a matter of monetary, and here is the shma'atin. But anyway, hahu matnata dehava katuv ba. It was a gift for someone who's in a deathbed. Here is again a disputation, another disputation between the great Rav and Shmuel in the subject of taking a deed, a note from someone who is in a deathbed, and in that give it's written, I'm giving it to you b'chayim u'b'mavet, which means both in life and in death. So it means in part you take a state that have ma'aseh kinyan, that have a matter of acquisition, so that's basically treated as matnat bari, as a gift for someone who's total healthy person. You cannot retract it. It's a done deal and it's over. That's, if you remember, to the Pimego on page 151 we said it. But Rav amar arei kematnat shchiv mera, u'Shmuel amar arei kematnat bari. Rav said that you treat it as a gift for someone who's in a deathbed that has the application only after passing of a person, meaning if a person feel better, then he can retract that decision. And Shmuel said, no, it's like matnat bari, it's like a gift of someone who's well, and therefore you cannot change the decision. The book called Shev Shma'atta, it's one of the important halachic book. He brought in this subject the Rashi in Tosfot in Kiddushin 79, the whole idea of when and how one can basically try to use that term and have it in a way a chezkat barrier that a person is like well and you can retract it. But anyway, now the Gemara elaborates on the reasoning for this disputation. Rav amar harei kematnat shchiv mira. Rav said that you treat it as a gift from someone who is in a deathbed. Midechtiv ba, because they use in the text, the language of the statement, the word bamavet, in death. Achar mita ka'amar lei. He meant to say that it will have fulfillment and after death. And what we said in the past, that the moment you use the after death is a problematic, because you want to have an access and immediate action to that. V'hai dechtiv b'chayim siman be'alma have. The idea that it's written the word in life, it's just a sign, that's something like almost like an expression of wishes, expression of hope that the giver will live. But obviously it's treated as a matnat shchiv mira. And Ushmuel amar harei kematnat bari, you treat it as someone who's well, give a gift. Midechtiv ba bechayim, because the opposite is written during the lifetime. מחיים כאמר, ועד הכתב ובמוות, כמאן דאמר מעתה ועד עולם. Now, you should know that the Rashbam said, סימנה לחיים, כלומר במוות דווקא הוא, ומחיים לאו דווקא לסימן טוב. So as we said, it's like an omen, it's like an expression. So the Maharil Diskin explained to us based on the Torah. The Torah tells us in the Parashat Vayhi, book of Bereshit, chapter 46, verse 30, Vayomer Yisrael el Yosef, Israel Yaakov said to his son Yosef, Amuta apam, I should die now, Arei re'oti et panecha ki odcha chai. After so many 22 years that Jacob did not see Joseph, he says, I will die now that I have the privilege and the joy to see you, that you are still alive. Because we all know the story that Jacob thought that Joseph is gone. So you ask a question, how Jacob said about himself that he will die. We said that Al tiftach pela Satan, we have this famous statement, don't open your mouth to Satan, don't give a negative vibe, a negative Hebrew vibration of words to something that can cause a reflection. That's the way the Rashbam said here. So the Maharil Diskin explained that Jacob did it, as a Midrash tell us, when he was totally occupied with the mitzvah of Kriyat Shema. Rashi said that when Joseph met him and approached him, Jacob did not respond because he was occupying himself on saying Shema. And as we all know, when you fully concentrate on saying Shema, hear Israel, the Lord is one, you are not allowed to be to communicate or to do anything with anyone. You in a way cleave there with the Creator. So part of that mitzvah is bechol nafshecha, with all your soul, with all your might, etc. So in a way, Jacob could not fully receive it or fully comprehend the connection, the capability of being the highest level of fullness. It's called in Ivrit shlemut gmura, completion of connectedness to God, because the Almighty promised him that he will have 12 tribes, and he figured out it's a missing one, so Joseph is absent, so he doesn't know what's going to happen to him. So the moment he saw Joseph and he saw that is a fulfillment of God promising of having the 12 tribes, so then he said, Amuta hapam. The Nezikin explained that now he meant to say, I'm ready and willing to move on to the next world and dedicate myself for sanctification of the holy name of the Creator in its fullness. It's called Bashleimut HaGmura. Anyway, Amrei Nahardei, so the sages of the city of Naharda explain the halacha in this Amoraic disputation, and they said, Hilcheta kvatei derav, which means if you have a type of gift that it's written B'chaim uva mavet, so you treat it as a gift of Shchiv Merav, someone who's in a deathbed, and if he recovers and he feels better, so he can retrieve it and have it back. But the Gemara circumscribed this ruling of Rav, Amar Rabba v'iktiv ba mechayim kana. But if part of the stipulation of that deed written in life, so the recipient have the estate immediately, and therefore the person in his deathbed cannot retrieve it. One of the Amoraim commented on that, and he said, Amar Meimar leit hilcheta kvatei derava. The halacha has not followed the rule of Rava. Amar le Rava shel Meimar pshita deha amrei neharde hilcheta kvatei derav, because the sages of city of Neharda said that the halacha follow Rav, which means here's a statement that said in that deathbed, in that deed expresses and said in life and in death, which means the gift of some person is deathbed is considering a legal gift, so therefore we have legitimacy for that expression of life and death. So the Gemara said, Mahu detema. You may think that if it's written in that document mechayim and it's not written bachayim moderav, that the gift fulfills the life of the giver. But here, Kamash Melan, so it's come to teach us that what? That the giver also mentioned death. He intended the gift as a gift of a person on his deathbed, and he can retract it. Another story. A certain person came before Rav Nachman to ask him about this type of deed that is written b'chaim u'b'mavet, life and a death. Can I retract it? So he said, Shadrei lekamei, the Rabbi Yomi v'Rava lishum tamya. He sent him to another rabbi to rule, because Rav Nachman somehow did not want to respond to that point. Amar hacha atra di Shmuel, here in the place of Neharda is the place of Shmuel. Heichen avid kvatei derav, how come we do something against the Rab? Another story. Aida atay lekamei derava. Is a woman came before Rabba. She asked about a gift that is written life and death. Can she retrieve that gift? Avad la Rabba kishmata. Rabba followed the rules that we mentioned earlier. Ha vakat tardale. She bothered him. So, meaning she tried to say that he didn't rule properly. Amar le Rav Papa Breder Rav Nachanan Safrei, the scribe, the one who writes in our modern language the minutes, the discussion, but he's also the one who writes the documentation, the deeds. Zil, you should write Ktovla. Write that she is ruling properly and she can retrieve her gift. Uchtov ba, and write a statement that is written in the end of Tractate in the Bava Metzia in page 75b, Socher alehen o mat'an. So it means that you hire replacement as their expenses or deceive them to get them to return the work. So basically here is the phrase in that Mishnah in Bava Kama 75b that discuss the ruling in a case of one who hired laborer to perform a task and somehow it cannot be delayed. and they quit. So Rabbi intended to phrase this to indicate that in this case the rabbinic court cannot basically follow that rule. So it means that is basically implying that if she bring this document, they should rejected her. Amra lidbar bey, when she heard that in a way he was kind of fooled her, so that woman said, may his sheep sing, which means it's a language of cursing. She was mad at him, right? At kamatile, what, he tried to fool me? So the student heard that, they get scared. Amshim lemane de rava b'maya. Guess what they did? Since she cursed him that the boat should sank, guess what they do? They took out the Rava shirt and put it and sank it in the water. Why they did it? Because in a way they want him to escape from her cursed. But even so, he was not saved from the sinking of his ship. So it's a big question, what exactly happened? It's not clear. The Rashbam said to him, that we should not take lightly, that's also in Gemarrah Megillah 15, someone who's not educated cursing. Any type of curse carries bad energy and bad vibe and negative result. Now, the question is that really happen or not? It's not clear from our sugya. But anyway, the next Mishnah, based on follow-up on the previous one on page 146b said that if someone is in a deathbed, wrote his entire estate to someone else, and then he gained back his health, so all of his gift is no longer affected, is abrogated. So here the next question is, if it's a quandary, if it's not clear at the time of giving the gift, if the giver was healthy or basically the person is deathbed. So if someone writes his estate to others as a deed of gift, lo katav ba shchiv mera, but he did not write in the deed that he was on his deathbed, and he then recover and wishes to retract his gift. Hu omer shchiv mera iti. He said, I was in my deathbed. V'en omrim bari hayta. They said, no, you are well. Tzarich lavi raya sheshchiv mera haya. He needs to bring a proof that he was really on his deathbed in order for him to retract the gift. That's the view divrei Rabbi Meir. The sages said this famous statement that one who has the claim, the burden of proof, is upon the claimant. So since the property is in the possession of the giver, so the one who receives must bring proof that they have the gift to receive it. The Rashbam have a different explanation, but the simple way is that the witnesses need to prove it. Anyway, the Gemara said, Hahu matanta dahave katavba. It was a story of a deed of gift that was written there when the person gave it, and he said, Kad hava katzir verame be'arsei. When the giver was sick and lying in bed, so velo katav ba umigo mar'ei yiptar lebeit olamei, and one part was omitted, and from his sickness he depart to his eternal home, and was not written in it. So the children of the one who gave claimed that even he was not well, and obviously if he's not well, so it's you may consider it as a shchiv mera, but he wrote when it was the time that he wrote the deed, but later recover, and the gift therefore is not valid. So there is a Rivash and others that ask a question, when exactly this type of gift is not effective. When exactly the moment that you switch and said it's basically too late, or the moment that you can retract it. 153b, Amar Rabba v'harei med v'harei kivro mochiach alav. Rabba said, obviously he's dead, and you have here the grave. The grave is the proof that he died. So that we assume that he did not recover from his sickness. So therefore, matana kayemet, the rimigash And the Ritva challenge, the Shev Shmateta, the truth is, there's a book called Shev Shmateta in the Shmata Gimel, Perek Tetzayin. So he brings the famous Rashi and Tosfot on Kiddushin 79b, that dealing with when exactly we are zlin batar chazaka or not, but again, we did not have time to go there. Amar le Abaye, so Abaye said to him, since the end happened, that he wasn't recovered, Hashta, now let's think. Umas fina sheruban le'aved, you have a boat that's sinking, so you assume that most of the passengers sunken on a ship are going to perish. So notnim alem churei chaim u'mechumotrem matim. We put the stringencies of living and the stringency of the dead, because you are not clear, not certain to if they are alive or dead. Sherov cholim lechaim lo kol sheken. Most of the people who sick people return to life. It's how much so that it's not clear that one should assume that he recovered from illness and his gift is invalid. So there is a Mishnah in Tractate Gittin, page 28b, that bringing samples of these stringencies. For example, we have a halacha that daughter of Israel that marry a Kohen, she allowed to access and eat from the truma, from the consecrated item, during the lifetime of her living husband, versus if the husband is no longer among the living, or if the husband divorced her and there's no children from him, so she is no longer allowed to eat from the truma. That's the Torah explained to us in the book of Vayikra, chapter 22. Also we learn it in the Mishnah in Yevamot 69. So if the husband was one of the passengers in that boat that sank, so she basically prohibited from now on to eat from the truma, from consecrated entity at the temple, because we assume that it's a possibility for him to be among those who are no longer among the living. So that's called chumrat meitim. Meiri bring other examples. So here the big question is, the Pnei Yoshua and others deal with this, how far you juxtapose to our discussion. But anyway, Amar Ravuna Breder Rav Yoshua keman az la'ashmad et derava. To whom this ruling of Rabbah follow? Ke Rabbi Natan, the Tanya. So here is the view of Rabbi Natan that said, Mi motzi miyad mi. Whom is the one who's collected from the others. So as we said, that is Rashi and Tosfot in Kiddushin 79. Again, for those who know Hebrew and familiar, go to the Gemarrah Kiddushin, Rashi Tosfot, but also the Shev Shmateta there. הוא מוציא מידיהם בלא ראיה, והן אין מוציא מידו אלא בראיה דברי רבי יעקב. So Rabbi Yaakov hold that he, the giver, can remove it from the recipient possession without proof, as the property was previously established to be in his possession, but the recipient can remove it from the giver possession only with proof. That's Rabbi Yaakov's view. Rabbi Natan אומר, אם בריא הוא, עליו מוטל להביא ראיה שהיה שכיב מרע. If he was well, healthy, so he have the obligation to bring proof that he was in a deathbed when he gave the property to other people. ואם שכיב מרע הוא, עליהן להביא ראיה שבריא היה. If it was in a deathbed, the obligation is upon the recipient to bring proof that he was a healthy man. So now, the Gemara said, Amar Rabbi Elazar uletum'a kamachloket. So that rule of the ritual impurity is basically depend on the same dispute. That's in the Mishnah in Tractate Trumot, Taharot, chapter 6, Mishnah number 7. Here we talk about a certain a valley, and we said that bik'ah, that is in a field but is covered with the fences. So bimot hachama, the hot days, which means the time that you pull out the crop from that. Reshut hayachid leShabbat, it's considering it's a private domain when it's come to law of Shabbat, and biblically speaking you cannot transfer it to a public domain or vice versa, because they have the petition mukefet bimchitzot urshut harabim letum'ah, which means if you have there a burial site and there's a question if person have the ohel, meaning the cover there, and become ritually impure, so you don't purify it if it's in a state of uncertainty, because people pass through there. Bimot Hagshamim, which means when they have the second revi'ah, the time of the season of raining, the raining season, so it's considered as a private domain, Reshut HaYachid Lechan Ulechan, both the rule of Shabbat and the rule of ritual impurity. So since we don't know when a person entered that domain, so that's disputation between Rabbi Yaakov and Rabbi Natan. According to Rabbi Natan, it's all depend upon when exactly he came before us to clarify his rules. If he comes during the summertime, we assume that when he entered to that valley was during the summer season. So therefore, that valley is considering a public domain when it's come to ritual impurity, and therefore he is pure from that tahor misafek, from that uncertainty. But if he come and ask during the rainy season, so we assume that he entered to that valley during the rainy season, that that valley is considering a private domain, and therefore is impure tameh misafek. So Rabbi Yaakov holds that he's pure because before, so according to Rabbi Yaakov, is no difference when exactly the question or asked. But anyway, more on that you see in the Rimigash in Yad Ramah, as well as the Ritva, that dealing with the whole subject of Chazakah de Hashta. Amar אבל הושענו אלא שלא עברו עליה ימות הגשמים, אבל עברו עליה ימות הגשמים, from the time that they put the fence. So the moment that happened, he said the Reshut HaYachid Lechan Ulechan is considering a private entity for both, for the law of Shabbat and for the law of ritual impurity, which is even you have a situation that the person passed through the fields, came to ask us what exactly his status in the summer, when the field should be considered public domain, he is nevertheless deemed impure even according to Rabbi Natan, and there is no parallel dispute with regard to uncertain ritual impurity. And as we said, that there is way more in the Ravid on the Shita Mekubetzet, the Shev Shmarteta, as we said, and obviously there is Or Sameach and much more to discuss, maybe tomorrow if we have more time.